Very briefly, I'm going to give an update on the status of the Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter. Yeah, teenager, 13 years. I always mark the time with Forum falling little bit after LRO launch. I can recall 13 years ago, celebrating some of the first images to come down from LRO. Now we have a teenager. Where is LRO today? Well, right now we are about to pass over Antiati crater near the lunar south pole, and within a few minutes pass into sunlight over the lunar near side. Recently, LRO has been extended to operate until at least 2025 through the results of the most recent senior review. Later this year, we will participate in a series of communications tests with the Capstone mission, recently launched. It's on its way to Lagrange Point to begin testing out operations in preparation for Gateway. But we will be communicating with Capstone to demonstrate feasibility of two-way communications between objects at the L2 point and in lunar orbit. We collect new data every day to support not only science, but of course CLIPS landing site characterization, as was talked about earlier. And just as a heads up to the community, LRO is in the process, the instrument teams are in the process of creating new PDS-4 compliant header files for our data archive as the PDS prepares for a transition to the PDS-4 standard. I realize not everybody, some members of the community that are watching this meeting may have no idea what LRO is, may be familiar with the data sets, the science that we generated, but as a reminder, LRO has been at the moon now since 2009. We've generated the largest volume of planetary data of any object in the solar system. We have a range of data types from images, both wide and narrow angle image types, thermal data, topography, spectra, UV spectra. We've characterized the radiation environment. We have a radar instrument. And of course, from all of that wide array of data, derived products. I highlighted a recent publication from the LROC team that sort of tries to synthesize some of those data results, talk about what is the resource potential of areas that are in permanent shadow. Following on some of the discussions earlier about resources and the utilization of resources, of course, the LRO data is our guide, our map of where we should be going. And certainly the data products that we've developed are helping not only plan CLIPS missions, but of course, upcoming crewed missions to the lunar south pole. We went through the senior review. This is a 1.5, 2 years long process preparing for this. An intense amount of work from all of the science teams. We had theme leads, Julie Stopar, Angela Stickle, Catherine Elder, Maria Banks, and of course, John Keller, who's in attendance at Survey out there. I would ask that anybody who sees John with an empty glass, please ensure it is refilled promptly. Senior reviews are awesome opportunities for the team, for the mission, to sharpen our pencils, re-examine all of the things that we do, and improve and continue to improve. So over the 13 years, I think like a fine wine, LRO has aged gracefully. As part of ESM-5, we'll be enhancing some of our support for the commercial payload landers, and in an effort to help support landing site characterization and all of the things that we know that goes into making for a successful CLIPS mission. One of the feedback that we got from the senior review panel is that we need to ensure that we are continuing to support the community in their use of our data sets. And so please, I'd ask anyone to please reach out to me, to John there in the room, ask questions, include a QR code to a link that has our data users workshop data files. One of the most important things that we can do, one of the most important jobs that I have, is making sure that this incredible volume of data gets used. We will certainly revisit having formal workshops, in-person, hybrid, going forward, because I think it's the most important thing that we can do while we have a mission operating to support the community in using our data. Speaking of data, the Lola team has created a handful of new South Polar products, improved digital elevation models over areas near the South Pole. Those can be accessed at the links provided there. And as a reminder, we deliver data to the PDS every 3 months. LROC is now delivering data monthly for use by the world. Just as a heads up for what's coming down the line, at top left is my favorite chart showing the history of LRO's orbit. As you recall, in late 2011, we went to this quasi-stable commissioning style orbit that we have now allowed to evolve naturally Over the period of time during ESN5, this orbit will effectively circularize for the first time since our prime mission at about 100 kilometers. Of course, there's massive error bars on that as our orbit naturally evolves. But for the first time, we'll have effectively uniform coverage of the lunar surface in terms of altitude. Over time, our orbit has precessed away from the South Pole, giving us a chance to focus on areas not just at the South Pole, but in the circumpolar region. And let me talk a little bit more about that, because as I learned from John Keller, and every day working with John is our valuable lessons, if you can't fix it, feature it. We cannot change this natural drift in the LRO orbit. Now, at about 2030, that orbit will start decreasing and coming back to the South Pole. So who knows, maybe for the Survey Forum in 2032, we'll be talking about LRO's orbit swinging back down. I certainly hope that's the case. During ESM5, we will increase our density of coverage over areas near the South and North Poles, particularly Cabeus. And this offers opportunities for really exciting science questions that is particularly for areas that are around this area of increased coverage. So let me just walk through quickly some of the science questions that we'll be asking in ESM5. Of course, we have a theme of volatiles and external interactions. And of course, because we're passing over Cabeus, all of these interesting areas in the South Pole will become targets of opportunity. Early in LRO's mission, we might have passed over Cabeus twice a month. Now we're going to be passing over multiple times a day during portions of our orbit. The opportunities for new high cadence observations of areas both in and out of illumination affords us a unique opportunity to understand the polar regions. Obviously, we study volcanism, tectonic activity. We're looking for active tectonics on the moon. We can temporally pair images of tectonic features today and tectonic features taken early in the mission to detect any subtle changes that occur on the surface, as well as a host of other studies of volcanism across the lunar surface. We're going to be looking for impacts and changes not only to the surface as a result of ongoing impacts that are occurring today, but of course the effects of impacts over geologic time, particularly in the emplacement and deposition of impact melt deposits. And again, we're throwing every instrument at these questions so that we have a better understanding of the full picture of the moon. We also support future missions. This is a chart that Maria Banks put together, and of course recent news will cause us to shift some of these missions around. But with the onslaught of missions to the moon, we are looking forward to future opportunities to not only prepare for those missions, but also work in concert with those missions as they're on the surface and make coincident observations while they operate on the lunar surface.
You're at 8 minutes.
The future at the moon is very, very exciting. Obviously, we're collecting data. I encourage everyone to engage with International Observe the Moon Night, October 1st this year. Kayla Berry, our team member, is at Survey this week, and so please talk to her and let us help you untangle the mysteries of the moon. I am here to help, and let's ensure that we make the most out of this incredible data set. Lastly, again, a slide to highlight International Observe the Moon Night later this year, and some of the features that we're trying to put together to support it need you. So please talk to Brian Day and Kayla Berry about getting engaged. And with that, about a minute to go, I'll stop for any questions.
Yeah, we do have time for at least one question, if there's anything.
So what about the future of LRO? I'll ask myself a question like Jake did earlier. Right now, we have enough fuel to operate in normal operations through about 2027, but we are currently looking at ways to operate the mission in a low fuel usage state. Basically, the big fuel driver for us is momentum management and avoiding long times in darkness through eclipses. And if we can get to a point where we minimize fuel through the use of sloughs to unload momentum, we may be able to extend that let's just call it a viable operation time beyond 2027. So we're currently looking at that. The future of LRO is bright, and I look forward to sharing that with everybody. And I see my colleague from the Ames Research Center ready to rock and roll. So
all right,
if there are no questions for me, I'll pass it to the chairs.